How are you today, Joe?
Great.
Good
Just
stuff.
chilling. Not too much new.
Nice.
I again managed to get myself to quit at a point where I would have continued working in the past. So that's nice that's my little progress of the day, like not beating myself into submission at work. So that's my like level of progress. I really noticed like the whole time like this like switching between like enjoying what I was doing and like really wanting to like work really fast and get done with it, and like thinking, oh my god, I got to get done with this task, like because I have this to do, and just having to like constantly like keep reminding myself like, okay, it's all right, you're okay right now, you can only do one thing at a time, and what are you doing again? Because like I was hammering these little wooden dolls into like these oak logs, making mushrooms. And it was kind of fun because it's like, oh, you're like a little kid with this big rubber mallet like pounding in things, and like I could kind of like connect with that a little bit. But then at the same time there was this part of me that's like, gotta go faster, you know. And it's interesting just seeing that part of myself that is there and beats myself up and being like, man, I wonder how many like
it's never
years
enough. It's got to be quicker. Yeah
I
don't have to do that to myself. My boss at work did that for me. But yeah
it's frustrating working in a job that is dependent, like the amount of money that you make is dependent on the speed that you do whatever task that you're doing and how efficient you are. Because like there's some jobs where it doesn't matter, right, where like you actually make more money if you're kind of slow, and that's kind of optimal if you're a practitioner. Like say that you're like advising people.
Good point.
And the slower that you work, the more money you make. But
that's a really good point. Working really fast and rushing is just not conducive to mindfulness, really.
No.
Someone said on one of these Dhamma internet forums that their practice was actually to only move their body mindfully. So whenever they'd move their hand to press a key on the keyboard, they'd have to be mindful of all the fingertips and every single movement. And they said it really like tanked their productivity because they were moving around so slow. But their mindfulness like shot through the roof because they just didn't let themselves even move unless they were doing it mindfully. And it made them a lot more conscious of like, just how they were holding themselves, bodily tensions, all these good things. So that was kind of cool. I was thinking about doing that for a while, but it just sounds quite hardcore. Like, and again, it's like rushing and wanting to get stuff done is kind of takes priority sometimes.
Yeah,
it's hard not to.
I mean, I played around with it a little bit, like on retreats, because like then you're in an environment where you're allowed to just go.
That's all you're
super
supposed
slow.
to do.
Yeah. And so it's kind of fun because you can do working meditation, because usually like at retreat centers, they have some sort of period for working meditation, and then you can just do it super slowly. And you're kind of like, man, this would be nice to be able to just do this. And so there's some balance there. Like, I mean, what I came to is eventually I was like, all right, this is the pace that you can work at and be like, not like beating yourself up. So just go at this pace. I know that you could go faster, but you're not going to be enjoying yourself, right? And so just do it at this pace, and that's enough, you know. But it's hard. I mean, I find it hard. I find it hard balancing work and mindfulness and stuff.
Big time. Yeah. Trying to stay mindful while you're doing a task, it makes it harder to do the task, right? You got less attention for it.
I don't know if it makes it harder to do the task. It's just like, it's just that like our way of like beating ourselves up is like, it's a really effective way of getting things done, unfortunately. Like there's a reason that bosses are assholes, because they get good productivity.
They get the results,
Yeah. And it's kind of unfortunate that it works like that.
Yeah, our society is very like results oriented, less like process oriented or mental health oriented.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate.
Yeah. It's not
But
like that in
it's forced
Sweden.
in other ways, because like we actually have like, I don't know, an economy that works or something. I don't know. I don't know how
Yeah.
this stuff works. So I'm sure there's some upside to it, other than the, you know, the cost of, you know, human suffering, animal suffering.
Yeah.
Everyone's just like miserable.
But the thing is like the productivity doesn't go down that much if you're just like a reasonable person, you know? And so like the key is like to make it fun and enjoyable. Like
That is
if
the
I was
key.
with somebody else, I could have been like, "Hey, let's like race and see like if we can get this done fast," you know. But it's just myself, so it's like it's not that same sort of like playing sort of
Yeah.
thing, you know.
Yeah.
But I mean, like Sweden is really unique in this, in that, like, I mean, most of my friends that work jobs, they really like regular jobs for other people. They really like take care of their mental health there, and like, it was so often that they had like time for meditation or like some sort of like, I don't know, just taking time for yourself in their culture and their work culture there. And it was really nice to see. I mean, they give like massive amounts of time off if you have a kid, for instance. It's like each parent gets like a year off from their job paid, which is just crazy, you know, like coming from the US where like
Yeah.
the dad doesn't get any time off normally.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
That's
and
really
yes,
cool. That's
that
really,
was
really
nice
cool.
to see there. That hey, it still functions, but then that was kind of like only part of the society. The other part was still kind of like assholes about it, you know. And it's so
Yeah.
unnecessary, right? We like overproduce way more than our needs, like totally, you know. And like we just keep striving for more and more and more, and it's like if you try to like go against the stream and be like, hey, like we really don't need this much, you like how I feel is I'm like, man, I'm really like I'm going on a path and I'm going further and further away from everybody else and what they're doing in life, to the point where I can't relate to like normal people who just live a normal consumerist
Mm.
lifestyle. Like in the last, I was just reading something, in the last 10 years, like the emissions of like the wealthiest percentage of the population has like massively gone up because people just are consuming more, you
Mm.
know. And it's like, yeah, I mean, like part of you is just like, okay, well, I just do live my own life, but there's still a part of me that's like hoping like, hey, can we like collectively realize this is kind of silly
Yeah.
and like just stop, you know. But
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. No, I see what you mean. Definitely.
Yeah, still hope for a better world. That hope hasn't gone away.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's funny. Yesterday, I don't normally use social media that much, but yesterday I started going on like YouTube Shorts and like Instagram Reels, just the explore section. So just random stuff that came up. Not really specific to my tastes, because none of it was Dhamma stuff or anything I was especially interested in. But I was just going through all of this stuff, and it was like quite shocking to me that like, because if it's the explore page, and like it's just for everyone, it's like the most popular things people are looking at, and it was just shocking to me like how like really I'm not sure like what a word is for it, but it's that kind of like that kind of like it's like that wanting stimulation thing.
Mm,
The way it's like the easiest like way to get like your dopamine hit. Because it was like people arguing, there was violence, there was like weird videos of people like squeezing goo into like shapes, and or like it's like supposed to be like satisfying to watch. And I was like, what kind of like OCD weirdo, like, not to like be rude to people with mental illnesses, but like what kind of like person like finds this like they get satisfaction from watching this. Like
Apparently,
it was weird,
the
man.
majority of the
It was crazy.
population, right?
Yeah, yeah. And it was just like I was like because I've been kind of living in my little like
Dark
Dhamma
bubble. Yeah.
self-help bubble, where like
Yeah,
I'm
I know.
always focusing on the good in every situation or trying
Yeah.
to, and I'm looking at all the ways that the world is improving and the people I'm speaking to are all like compassionate people who want to
Right.
make the world a better place and stuff. And I was like, whoa, what is the
It's good to
human race
see.
filling their brains with, man?
It's good to see
This is
where we came from, though, right? Because like
crazy.
there's a time in our
Yeah.
lives where we both can look back probably, and we were on that track a little
Yeah.
bit, because we were in the mainstream. And I don't know, when you're 12 years old, you're just kind of doing what everybody else does, you
Yeah,
know.
exactly. You totally are. You totally are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's good to see like where you came from. Sometimes when you're hard on yourself, you're like, oh shit, like my thing that I notice is like Americans, they're so into sports, and like I talk to my brother, and he talks to me about sports as if I still pay attention to it, and I'm just like, oh wait, like that's something that I just like gave up, and I'm like, oh yeah, 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 that's right. Like the majority of the people still spend their time watching this, like when
Yeah,
there's so many
yeah.
other things that you could be doing, but this
Yeah.
is like the main interest. Okay, good,
It's
like good
it's it's
reminder.
it's pretty crazy, man. It's a crazy world we live in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
Yeah. But then today I went to this because I do my shopping on Wednesday, and it's this little like farm that has like you can buy like all the different producers in the area show up on Wednesdays, and for like 3 hours you can go and buy from each person. So there's like
Mm,
one person who sells apples and apple juice, one person sells vegetables,
mm,
one person that sells cheese, another person that sells like meat, somebody that sells milk. So and it's like it's such a like wholesome place to go to, because like everybody's just happy and smiling, and you're just like, oh god, I'm so glad that my money can like finally go to something that makes me feel good and wholesome, and like just automatically without me having to like change anything. It's just like, yeah, everybody's super friendly there, and just happy, nice people. And you're like, man, like it all could be like this. Why the hell do people go to
yeah,
the
man.
grocery store? Like I almost like it's not even expensive either. Like because you're buying directly from the people, it's like cheaper than you would get it from in the store. And like you're buying raw materials, like you're buying actual vegetables and actual like cheese and stuff. So like
Yeah.
because it's not processed, it's just cheaper. And it blows my mind that more people don't take advantage of it, because it's better quality. It's like everything about it is better, 100%. But yeah, it's
Yeah,
it's
man.
it's nice that these
Is
things
it more
exist.
is it more expensive?
No, it's cheaper because like
What?
these people, they're way too cheap. Like everybody at this place, like I don't know why they price themselves the way that they do, because they could be a lot more expensive, I feel like, just based on somebody who sold stuff in that sort of setting. But I think their theory is that they're like, if we're cheaper than the store, then we'll get more people to come here. But I don't think that's actually true in reality. I think the people that are going to shop with them are just going to shop with them no matter what, and other people are always going to think that they're going to be expensive no matter what. Because
Yeah.
like when you actually look
Yeah.
at the prices of stuff, and I'm like, okay, the 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 milk is like this price. It's like a dollar, like €1.20 a liter or something like that,
Yeah.
for like organic milk directly like milked that day.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's basically no different from the price in the store. you know
Yeah.
um
Yeah.
it's like the same. So I don't know, it's nice. It's my little like weekly wholesome sort of like, oh, the world could look like this if
Well,
we wanted.
if we work hard and we play by the rules, anything's possible. That's what Arnold says. Maybe one day.
Arnold, like Arnold Schwarzenegger said that.
Yeah.
I haven't heard that one.
Mm. It's quite famous.
Is it
It's
like
one of his like
motivational?
motivational ones. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
If you work hard and you play by the rules, anything is possible. And everyone's like in the crowd's like, yeah. Yeah. Meanwhile, like half of them are on PEDs. Yeah, man. But on the wholesome side, um, cute animals exist,
Yeah.
and a lot of people like those, which is good.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
cute
and like,
animal videos on
yeah,
YouTube. Yeah, sometimes I get the thing that you have about the like seeing what regular people watch. So I have the same thing with YouTube if I like am not logged in and then whatever like comes up just as like a normal video and you're like, holy
I
shit,
know
this is what
exactly what you
the
mean.
regular thing is. Because like for
Yeah,
me, I almost never watch a video that has like over 100,000 views. Like you know, like just the videos I tend to watch, it's just Dhamma videos that don't get a lot of views, you know,
yeah,
and like and just other things that I don't know, those are just the channels that I tune into, you know. And so like when I see these videos of like with 100 million views or something, I'm just like, oh my god, this is so
yeah.
silly.
And it's just the most random, silly nonsense that
Yeah.
it's just, I don't know, man. It almost makes me feel a bit sick watching it. Like, it's
Yeah.
like, it's just too much. I think that's a good thing though, because I wouldn't want to spend all day watching that. I'd like run out of dopamine really fast. I always find like when I do like if I spend too long looking at Instagram or something, like I just nothing eventually like after like a couple hours, nothing makes me happy anymore. Like I can't even keep looking at Instagram, and then it's like, well, what do I do? I'm like even more bored than when I started, which is normally why I'd open Instagram.
Mm.
I don't know if you ever get anything like that.
Like can you say it again? Like you get more
If I
bored or that your
yeah, if I like
dopamine is
yeah, if I spend too much time like looking at like these really high dopamine like stimulating like internet videos and stuff, like my like I get like eventually like I get like bored of that, and then I'm like bored of everything. Like nothing I can do will even like make me like happy, and
mm,
I'm just sitting there like kind of just like in this weird like bored angst state.
mm. And then you
Yeah.
like keep watching. That's what I find is that like I still keep staying
Yeah,
with whatever it is.
you're just not enjoying it as much anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, I notice it with the internet. I mean, like what tends to happen for me is I get this sort of like sick feeling in my stomach a little bit, kind of like knowing that this isn't good for me and still choosing to do it, and like it just it doesn't make any sense really why we do it to ourselves, you know? Because you're like, I should go for a walk, I should go do something else, but you just continue to just like do whatever unwholesome shit that you were doing before, and I don't know.
Yeah.
It's good to just not
Yeah.
beat yourself up about it
And
and
then
just try
that's
better.
true. That's true. It's like you could beat yourself up about it, or you could try. I think this was something I said to DJ once. Hi, Carl. It's like I was using the example of overeating because I used to kind of like binge eat a little bit. It was like I'd go and I'd overeat, but while I was eating the food, the whole time I'd be beating myself up for eating it, and I'm like, oh, I'm such a bad person. I'm such a bad person, and getting like more anxious while I'm eating it.
Right.
But I didn't actually get like the benefits that
Right.
I went to the
The
comfort
food
food
for.
in the first
Yeah.
place to get, which was to try and relax and de-stress. And so I'd end up more stressed. And then
Yep.
what I found was when I was going to do it anyway, I was going to overeat, and I just allowed myself to do that. And then I allowed myself to really enjoy it fully. I'd afterwards, it would work, and I'd feel recovered, and I could continue my day without this kind of stress and anxiety kind of getting in the way of me being productive or just being happy, which was kind of
And you probably ate
counterintuitive.
less too.
Um, I don't know about that. I don't know about that. I think, yeah, I think it was still pretty bad. But
I don't know.
it's really true, man.
I
It's
had
like beating
exactly
yourself up,
this. I
like
had
doubles it.
exactly this with the comfort food thing. Literally this morning, I knew I had like a half thing of ice cream in the freezer. I almost never buy myself ice cream, but I just happened to. I was at the store and was just like, you know, I haven't bought ice cream in a long time. I'll buy myself some. And I felt like a little
Yeah.
bit bad in the morning, and I was just like, you know what, fuck it. Like I'm an adult. I'm just gonna start off today and have ice cream, you know. And
I,
like
I,
I beat myself up about. I'm sitting in bed like eating ice cream at like 9 in the morning, and I'm like a little bit beating myself up about it. I'm like, oh my god, you're like gonna have such horrible feelings for the rest of the day. And then all of a sudden, I was just like, wait a minute, like the whole point of this was to like this to be awesome and enjoy this. And then instead, I started having like the wholesome thoughts, like, wow, how many times as a kid would I have dreamed of this moment? You know, I am
yeah,
living the dream right now of being a kid.
You
like,
are.
how many times as a kid were you just like, Mom, can't I just eat ice cream? And she's like, nah, you can't. And I'm like, you know what?
Yeah.
Fuck you, Mom. I can right now. Like,
That's
hey,
so
DJ.
relatable, man. Hi, DJ. That's
How's it
such
going?
that's a really cool way to reframe it, man. It's like, how many times when I was a kid did I, it's like, this is a dream come true for me back then. Let's get in touch with that again. Let's bring that back.
Yeah.
How are you doing today,
it's good
DJ?
Oh, I'm doing good. I just got back from work, so back from the job. I was doing some dishes, so yeah, I'm doing good.
Cool.
You know.
Cool. Nice, man. Nice.
Yeah. When people kept bringing like more, I'm like, oh, have you brought me more gifts?
I love that. That's a great one.
I don't mind doing the dishes. I rather enjoy it. So.
Yeah. Dishes can be fun. Yeah. Unless there's like stuff at the bottom of the sink that you have to pull out every 5 minutes because the like stopper doesn't stop it. In the case of my workplace. Yeah. Not my finest hour pulling all that stuff out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. You don't deal with rice or anything like that, do you?
Not rice. There's like other stuff like
small things that like
some little stuff. Yeah, okay. Not like tiny like pepperoncinis, olives, like that sort of thing. Yeah.
Okay.
Stuff that goes on the sub. I guess like the little lettuce shards that can muck things
get
up.
in the sink. Yeah. Clog things up a little. Yeah. So long as it's not clogging up your brain,
the mind,
your
right?
Dhamma.
Yeah,
the mind. Exactly, man. We got to keep that free flow of happy, grateful, in tune energy.
Hey, Rick.
Hi, Rick.
Hey, everybody.
Hey.
What was all those hand movements you were doing there, Robert?
Oh, I was just describing like how we have to like make sure our brain doesn't get clogged up with like unwholesome thoughts, so that we can keep like the stream of like wholesome like goodness that's the natural state just like flowing. And like my hands are sort of illustrating like how wholesome thoughts move, because it's a stream of like natural stateness,
Okay,
it's like,
cool.
It's like it's like the human default, is to just be happy now.
Sure.
Oh, okay. Okay. Nice touch.
Yeah,
this is where we come to discuss the Dhamma.
It really is a joy when you remember that, and that you can like clear out the mind and like still like be at, such peace and joy and all that stuff, like doing the dishes,
Yeah. Or shoveling the snow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You guys got snow?
On and off. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. We've had a few.
Like... Go ahead.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say we've had a few snowstorms here actually. So yeah, like last week there was quite a bit to shovel, but I enjoyed myself. So yeah.
Yeah, I lived in Canada for a while, so I'm familiar with it. But it was 16 degrees and sunny today. It was awesome. Celsius, so like was it like 60 Fahrenheit or something like that? It was unusually warm though. I mean, it's not the usual thing, but it was incredibly nice today. The weather.
Yeah, it's a little warmer today too. It's like 4. Oh, this is saying 4 Celsius out, so a little warmer.
I mean, see Canada is nice with the cold though, because like it's like actually cold, right? Because if you get that in between cold where it's just like rainy and shitty, like it's actually colder than it being really, really cold and snow, is my experience, anyways. Yeah. But like Robert's climate is like the fucking worst, I think, in the UK.
Yeah. It's just like there's no snow, so there's no like cool part of winter. It's just wet and frosty and cold and moist and just gray skies. gets dark 16 hours a day. Yeah.
Well, at least you're not in Scotland.
Yeah. It could be worse. How's it going, Rick? You been making some progress, getting those Dharma gains?
Yes, I did. This week has been great for that. Yeah. I mean, I'll pop down and I don't know, within 15 minutes sometimes I'll start to feel that really happy vibration. And then another 20 minutes will pass and my timer will go off, and it's hard to imagine that 20 minutes or 25 minutes have passed, So,
Wow.
Yeah, it's been fairly consistent this week, and it's for me. It's about just remembering when I sit, not to like try and rush into that state, but let it happen automatically. Not to like push it. That's the temptation, isn't it? Is to like, oh yeah, let's get back there, and I recognize it. It's a process that has to happen all on its own. It can't be pushed, it can't be prodded, it can't be managed or controlled. You just set the environment up the best you can, and then hope it descends upon you once more in the way that it did prior. But yeah, that's okay. That's pretty nice. So I've been enjoying that whole process, and just I guess trying to make sure that I check the other boxes of responsibility in my life, so that doesn't overwhelm my time, because I do have other things that I need to do to maintain everything else I've set up. So it's been great.
Hello?
It's been great.
Survival, right? Survival. You got to survive.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now, Carl.
Oh, finally. Okay. Sorry to interrupt.
No, not interrupting at all.
That's it. That's all I had. It was just I made some progress, but not enough to like, but in such a way that I am trying to be mindful of not trying to like grasp it and cling to it. It's like, okay, yeah, that's progress. Next week could be different. The following week could be different. It probably will be different, but not to like beat myself up if I like can't return. Just like, okay, that was this week, this practice, actually, not even this week, this practice. And that's great as it is, and the next time, who knows? Who knows? Not to worry about it, not to think about it,
Yeah, that's a great mindset to have, because like often the comparison like of last time is what can prevent you from just really enjoying here and now, and experiencing a lot of satisfaction, or just enough satisfaction.
Excellent point. Yeah, man. I really like that you brought that up, Rick, about how you're trying to rush to get back to that state, that positive state. And for me, a lot of it was because I would always try to do insight practices after I was in some form of like some variant of access concentration, some sort of stilled state. And then after I dropped the insight practices and I was just doing the Anapanasati, it was always like results. I need to get the results from this practice. So I would be trying to get there as quickly as I could. And of course it backfires, because if you just relax and you allow the feelings to come about and you just do the technique and it comes about of its own accord, there's no effort to maintain that. It maintains itself. You keep doing the technique, the good feelings keep doing their thing and making you feel good, and it's all good.
Right, it's like a default. It's interesting. It's like a biological default that just is there. It's like a brute fact, and it's in a way you just trust that that's gonna reoccur without having to push it.
A lot of it is trust, man. I feel like a lot of the Dhamma is just trust. Trust in the technique, trust in your teacher, trust in, yourself that this is going to work, and then, that gives you the confidence to just do it when you otherwise wouldn't have much confidence, and then it works.
I mean, doubt is one of the stated hindrances. So, yeah.
It is. It's a big one. It's a big one.
I mean, trust for me comes about like by seeing results too in myself and at others. You know, when you meet other people and they've been practicing a while, and you can just tell, then you're like, all right, there's something to this. You know.
Yeah.
Does anyone else feel like a stair dweller?
Stair dweller. What does that mean?
Look at the graphic someone's put. Like we're dwelling.
We're just like loitering on this like.
but just like our torso or neck. So this is funny. It looks like we're stair dwellers.
Yeah. It's almost like we're on like some like prehistoric or like ancient like reality show or something, you know, or we're like all, you know, how they have the judges or whatever.
Maybe this is an amphitheater. Like
yeah.
we're waiting for the show to begin.
Yeah. It's cool that they have like little tables.
Another stair dweller.
Hey.
They popped out of the cement.
Hey guys. I think this is what they call the headless state.
It's quite amusing.
Or like the bodiless state.
Yeah.
I'm like kind
Rick,
of
what was it like for you when you were like seeing Dhammarato in person? Like, because I know that were you like going to the temple, or how did that come about?
Yeah. I was attending the meditation sessions at the Wat, and then periodically we would have the retreats, the Goenka style, noble silence style retreats that would last between 7 to 10 days, I guess. And so there's a part of me that now that I'm reflecting on it, I think I could sense there was something really special and incredible about the whole setup, but I think that I was still a bit inexperienced to really appreciate it the way I probably would have at this age or now. It was how else can I put it? I mean, it was intense. I'll tell you that. It was intense. You know, kind of like sitting at the knee, and either getting meditation instruction for an hour or two on Sunday, or getting this, you know, long extended, you know, 4, 5, 6 hour a day sits, you know, and then, you know, 3-hour Dhamma talks. Wow. Like, you know, like we would like he does on online with through Skype, but then basically it was very rapid fire. Like someone would ask a question, he would go on for 25 minutes. Someone would ask another question, he would go on for 25 minutes. So there was a real interesting flow, and of course it wasn't one-on-one. It would be 8 together, 10 together, like that. So that was always very interesting. Some of the things that would come up from that. So yeah.
That's interesting. Were you sitting upright, or could you like recline?
They had those the tie pillars that were like a bit of a triangle. You could do a little bit of reclining on. Yeah. But, you know, after, you know, especially within the retreats, after about a day or 3 days, your back was pretty still and solid. You didn't really You didn't really need it, you know, and
that's cool.
Yeah, you kind of your back muscles
got strong fast.
They did, yeah, right. And then it went beyond that to where you were just, and I remember like toward like day 3 was, and probably a lot of, if you've been on retreats like this, you know that day 3 is like a lot of people's breaking point. They either leave because that's it. They cannot manage that many hours per day sitting, or you have sort of like a physical breakthrough, and it's in that you're no longer in a state of anticipation or waiting for anything, because there's only, like, even though there's a schedule and like the chanting in the morning and this and that and this and that, there's not really anything to like look forward to. And because they frown on any kind of like stimulation, like books or music or video games or obviously anything like that, or talking, your mind doesn't have a chance to like fill itself with a lot of stimulation or input. And so I recall like almost like clockwork on day 4, somewhere in the middle, your mind stops waiting for the next event to happen, and you really do feel very present, very not concerned. Even with the meal that you would have, those of us who are participating would eat last, but even waiting for food, you're like, yeah, okay, here it is, great, and then you're done.
Yeah, you're not like in the line anticipating.
You're not waiting. You're not waiting anymore.
Dukkha.
Yeah, and it takes a while to let that normal, scheduled, like social, cultural brain drop away. That anticipation drop away.
Oh my God! Tell me about it. When you were describing that, I was sort of relating to my own experience and how it's the exact opposite of that.
Yeah, we're always
living this just psychosis of time obsession.
Always looking at the clock, looking at our phone, not looking at the phone necessarily for the apps, but looking at the clock on the phone. There's this constant like, okay, what time is it? What time is it? What do I need to do next? Like that.
Yeah.
But during the retreats, like I said, day 4, that all just stopped. It all just stopped.
Did you get the feeling that you could like continue doing that indefinitely, or
yes.
did like knowing that? Okay.
Yes. In fact, it was as day 10 approached, or day whatever approached, it became more of, do I want to stay here? Could I stay here? What are my obligations? What would my people think? You really start getting tempted because it's so sweet, and it's just sweet and peaceful, and you know what awaits you out there. You know what awaits you out there. But at the same time, as I said, I was quite young, and I still had some things to resolve before I was ready to move beyond that. So anyway.
Sounds very tempting.
It definitely is. It definitely is. Yeah. Anyway, I hope that answers your question. I'm sure there's a lot of you had these similar experiences on your own retreats or whatever. This isn't anything super new, but that's certainly what it was for me. So.
Yeah.
I have a question, guys.
Mm-hmm.
So my question would be, do any of you guys ever catch yourself like being really addicted to being dissatisfied? Because I find myself constantly I actually like it a lot, being not satisfied, what I realized recently. For me, it become like almost a guilty pleasure. I was stuck on that for a long time. Being a naughty boy, and I like getting spanked. It's almost like that
dude,
level.
It's weird, man. It's weird. It's like, for me, it was always sort of like a self-pity thing. Like I'd be like addicted to the comfort that I would give myself when I was like self-pitying myself. And I think part of that was just because I'm so hard on myself. Like when I'm not self-pitying, I'm like using every drop of happiness I have to convert it to like discipline to get stuff done, or was at least. And then when I would crash, I'd revel in just the freedom of just being able to just suck at everything and not have to show up as this like strong person in my life anymore.
I think for me it changed.
Yeah, I totally get that.
I think for me it changed, and there was a point in my practice like where I can significantly see where it really sunk in that I really had a choice here, and I had a choice with my life to either choose to be happy, to choose joy, or to choose to be miserable. And that one path was leading me to be miserable, and one path was leading me to be joyful. I specifically remember having a conversation with somebody and saying, the world is so fucked up that like I can't imagine how anybody could just be okay with how things are. And now to me it's such a ridiculous statement, because it's just like something has shifted in my brain, but it's still an active choice. And like so we have this momentum of years and years of maybe thinking in that way and thinking things are so messed up, or my life is so messed up, or this is so difficult. So we have to like overcome that, and there's you need to get the momentum going the other direction, and then it sort of takes off on its own. And there's really no looking back at that point. You might have a thoughts come up a little bit, but like, yeah, it doesn't really stick very much for me now. Like,
Yeah.
I can't imagine like a reason why I would want to, because I can see this is not beneficial for me, and that's the thing with determining if it's a wholesome thought or not, is you're like, okay, is this thought beneficial for me? Is it benefiting my life? Is it benefiting others? No. Then why am I doing it? It doesn't make any sense. There's no logic.
Yeah, I recently had a thought kind of like that, like when I was thinking about like wholesome thoughts, and you very much like, is this worth it, right? Like, is this worth me thinking about it, right? Like this thing right now, and then it's like, no, it's not, So in some cases, it's like, oh, okay, so what is, worth thinking about? What's actually going to be of benefit? Yeah, I found myself prior in that thing of like, okay, well, the world's messed up and all that stuff, so like, why should I be happy? But like at the end of the day, what is my misery going to like contribute to that, right? So
but I'm looking from the point as it's a clinging to the pain, because I feel like there's a certain point of view where we're not able to be happy because we're conditioned to always be unhappy. So we don't even know how to settle ourselves into the happiness, or be comfortable being present and being content and peaceful. I feel like happiness is a bad word. It's more content and at ease, what I would describe. But a lot of times I catch myself is like, I don't think I want to be happy. I want to be more content, but then I still cling to this pain and sorrow because it feels so good. It feels so me. When you think of it, it feels so me, even though that me is not there.
That's an interesting thing you say. Like when you say it feels so me, I'm translating that into it feels so ego.
Yep.
And then it's like, oh, okay, so it feels so ego. Then it shows how we're defining ourselves by this pain. Like we're literally, you just mentioned, we're defining ourselves by our ego, by our pain, and it's sort of like a very honest way of putting it. An interestingly honest way of putting that.
That's a really astute observation, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we totally define ourselves by like all the stuff we're afraid of and all the stuff that
what we're trying to avoid and what we're trying to gain, right? What we're trying
to gain is just avoiding too, as well. In a lot of ways, it's just we only want it because there's something we're trying to avoid.
I find myself I cling to pain because I avoid the present moment as it is. It because it stares at me back with its fully openness, and it's quite scary. It feels like a dreamless. It's like awareness looking at itself, and it feels a bit scary and unfamiliar at times. And most times I can settle into it and find pleasure in it. But a lot of times I find wanting to cling back to the pain. So I'll go do some kind of like, I will go cling to some junk food, or I will cling to some worldly matter just to pull me out of that dreamless state, because I don't feel comfortable being too long in it. So that's why I feel like a lot of people, I myself cling to pain, is just to pull myself out, to take a break, and then I go back into the dreamless state, whatever that is that I get myself into.
Right. To look away from the limitless abyss.
Yeah.
And kind of pretend it's not there with these desires and craving. Like, oh, okay, I know. I'll put this sort of like little shack around me of these my favorite pretty things, and then later, okay, I'll look back through the window. Oh, the limitless is still there. I didn't imagine that at all. Yeah. I'm gonna go and say that I probably for the last couple of years, I've managed to note that, like, sort of distance myself from that habit of that thinking that way, but it's difficult because it's an emotional thing going on, not a logical thing. It's easy for us as we conceptualize it with our categories to say, oh, okay, I'm choosing, but that's a very intellectual selection process. That's like, oh, I'm choosing this apple over that apple, or this nectarine over that nectarine. It's in a way, I think there's the emotions have to be fully investigated, and I don't mean felt, but I mean investigated, in order to see how they're, pushing and pulling those buttons, but it's and I think that's why a lot of people will oversimplify things and say, oh, we'll just choose this, just choose that. It doesn't happen at the intellectual level. It doesn't happen at the reasonable level. It happens at an emotional level.
Yeah, I think too. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I was just gonna add too. I think it can sometimes be easy to make the happiness like another rule, like you should be happy or you should be in this or whatever. And so, like, actually just remembering how good it feels, or to be content, you don't have to use the word happiness. You can use content or satisfied or at ease, but how good it feels. And so when you remember how good it feels, it's like they'll incline towards that, but there can be very much like almost like a moral thing of like, you should be happy, and that can kind of, yeah.
That's what usually drags me back. That feeling, as you said, remembering drags me back. Sorry, go ahead now.
Go ahead. Your feeling of what?
Yeah, I mean, what you just said, remembering that you can be a happiness at ease, that's what usually brings me back from the pain, as it naturally will, because if you have a solid practice, you cannot run away from practice, because this is the only way true. Once you realize that it's the only way true, there's no going back to the pain and suffering for a long time, at least. For maybe a day, for a couple of days, yeah. But it's
well, then you're like willfully choosing the illusion rather than just being swept up in it and not knowing that it's there. And that's a big difference to say, yeah, I'm willingly blinding myself to this, even though I've seen other. That becomes I feel very, very difficult to do that.
Yeah.
But I don't see any other way, because at moments it feels too scary to look at it. So you need to kind of let go. I know I've been able to let go, but most of the time it feels too scary to let go. So it kind of drags you. It's like push and pull, I would say. It's a push and pull relationship.
But that's when I start investigating the fear to see what's behind it. What do I think I'm about to lose here? What am I going to lose? That's not an easy thing to take apart, the fear. But it's a little bit like when you're investigating, you're doing a body scan and you're investigating discomfort in the body, and you keep like narrowing it down, and then suddenly you're like, wait, where did it go? What happened? It's gone as you look for it, But to me, I don't think I've ever experienced that style of fear, what you're describing, but when I do, I try not to just look at it as this big cloud of, oh, I'm afraid. I'm like, what within that cloud is causing this reaction, and then just like pull it apart and do that investigation with that,
Yeah, that has value, yeah.
I think with the addiction to pain thing, it just reminded me of like alcohol, though, because like, as a natural reaction, most people, all people, if you give alcohol to a little kid, they immediately gag, right? So you have to like train yourself to like something that is inherently painful to our bodies. And the same can go with these painful emotions that like we've spent time mindlessly training ourselves to enjoy this. So it's not an unusual feature or anything like that. We all do it, right? And like that's just how it is. And like now we have to like try and see that, right? But the willful ignorance thing, like willfully choosing thing that Rick was talking about. I mean, I find that challenging, for sure. But yeah, but not being afraid to jump into fear. I mean, what's the worst that's gonna happen? I mean, like you get like a little bit of like some unpleasant feelings in your body, and like, you know, I mean, like reminding yourself that you're safe and okay to investigate is like the key to dealing with these sort of like unpleasant things, is that you're totally safe physically, and you're able to take care of it. You don't need anybody else to help you. You don't need mom to come and cuddle you and hold you, because you can do that yourself to yourself, is kind of the way that I try to deal with it. But I don't know.
Yeah, precisely. But what I mean is, it's not essentially the fear of it. It's not being okay with being okay. I don't know. It's kind of hard to put into words, because as you said, we're so used to this conditioning of not feeling okay by being dissatisfied with everything, and that's going through our heads day by day. And then when we're faced with this complete emptiness of the moment and being okay in the moment, we kind of don't know how to accept it, and then we try to make excuses. We're trying to make any way to distract ourselves from it. But anytime I look into it, I see the fear, I see the feelings, I see my distractions, I see everything, yet I'm still afraid, not afraid, but like I still can't look at it. It's like somebody's looking you in the eyes and you just want to turn away. You just cannot control your head. That's how I would describe the feeling. It's like the wolf's eyes, I would say. Yes, you're looking the wolf into the eyes, and you just can't keep that gaze, because you see everything and nothing in it at the same time. All your fears, all your distractions, everything. I don't know if that makes much sense, but that's what
I feel like
recently.
it's sort of like staring at the sun a little bit. It's a bit different from the wolf's eyes, but it's kind of like you're blinding yourself, and you want to look away so that you can check and see, oh, everything's still here. All of my imaginary objects in the world are still here. Yeah. They haven't gone away forever. You got to keep looking back and checking to make sure.
Yeah.
I think that the tricky thing can be starting to beat ourselves up about this, though, right? And beating ourselves up for not being a good enough practitioner, for not being able to get over these things that are like a natural process, and our bodies and minds are just taking care of it at the pace that's taking care of it, you know? And so to just trust that, you know, you've put the wheels in motion, and like you said, you're like, well, I've already seen a taste of it, so there's no looking back now, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
But it's, you know, there is, it depending on your conditioning, your past. Like, I mean, I was definitely a glass half full type person the majority of my life, so it's like a little bit of a, you know, a struggle to get it to the other direction, you know. And there's that momentum of like enjoying suffering, you know. Like no pain, no gain mentality, right?
Oh God, the no pain, no gain mentality, man. I'm so bought into that. I'm so bought into that whole illusion. It runs my whole life.
I mean, I was an athlete.
Even my meditations, I'm like, oh, I got to keep brute forcing my way there.
Oh goodness.
Yeah, it's funny. I think Shawgirl said this on the DHO once. Was like, it's like, how many guys in the military get enlightened? They got a lot of discipline, right? Yeah. How many of them are awake? So much for pain, no gain, right?
Yeah. But I think they're gaining really something, but it may not be enlightenment, but they're gaining something.
Yeah, they're going like the other way. They're making themselves have a really big, overconfident, supersized ego.
Yeah, it can definitely drive you towards like self-destruction, just like no pain mentality. I think, as you were saying, you were an athlete, so you're gonna say you drive yourself crazy working out, which I did as well.
Yeah.
But I think we're gonna take any extremes, which would be alcohol, drugs, relationships, anything you can put your hand on to distract yourself from that nothingness
Yeah.
feeling. You're gonna
Yeah.
use it.
Yeah,
Whatever
and
it
you
would be.
think athletes would have really good mental health, right? Because you think it would
Yeah.
No.
help them in the sport.
they
But
are the
how many
worst.
like pro boxers are addicted to cocaine? You know, Mike Tyson, Tyson Fury, all these world champions, and they have like these crazy drug issues and stuff. And it's like, you know,
Yeah.
they work
he
so
on
hard, they got to
cocaine?
recover somehow.
Was he on
They gotta
cocaine
find some way to unwind.
in Punch Out? Was that why he was so hard to beat in Punch Out? I knew there was something. He was so fast, and my little guy could not keep up. He was on cocaine. Now it makes sense.
That was the secret. Yeah.
What's up, guys?
Yeah, Alex.
What's
Hey, Alex.
up? How are you, man?
Let's practice.
I'm well. How's everybody?
Good.
That's good, man. I'm doing good today, you know. I woke up today and I was like, I had like no identification with my thoughts when I woke up. And I was like, oh my God, finally, meditation results. Lasted for like 10 to 20 minutes and I went back to being a normal person, but it was kind of crazy. I woke up and my thoughts were just like doing themselves. I was like, I did it. I finally made progress.
Cool.
After all
Then you
these
said
years.
Cool.
I, and then you said I, and it was.
Yeah.
House of Cards.
A big old house of cards, man. Yeah.
I
House of cards.
I had like a really
I totally
great,
was
like...
taking credit for it.
There was like a really great 7 to 8 day streak of just like great wholesomeness, great sati. It was a piti sukha, all of it. I was swimming at the resorts, and a day ago, House of Cards fell down. Didn't have tail between my legs. Woke up next day. Said, all right, I got this. I can do this. Let's go. And that was awesome because, you know, usually, or not usually, but in the past, it'd be common to go into like the ditch for like 6 or 7 days, but I didn't put myself there and I kept going. By the end of the day, though, the tail was between the legs. And there was a little bit of a challenge. And, you know, it was like, Dukkha, wholesome, Dukkha, wholesome, Dukkha, wholesome, like, oh, give me a break, you know. But
yeah, man, it gets so frustrating, especially at the end of the day. You just don't have the mental energy to keep going, keep it up.
yeah, and then I was just like, that's it. I'm chilling out. I'm relaxed. Then I woke up this morning and I'm like telling Dan, I'm like, that's it, man. I really want to give up. I really want to give up right now. And he's like, listen, be kind to yourself. You've only been doing this. You've been doing this other thing for 25 years. Thinking a new way takes time. And I was just like, it was all there, guys. It was all there. The like, you can't do it. This is it this time. You're going in the ditch. And at one point, I just decided to, you know what? Okay, I don't have the first jhana. I don't have the second jhana. I don't have the third jhana. I don't have the fourth jhana right now. But I have the breath. I know how to practice. I can enjoy this right here. I can see the next unwholesome thought. I can guard the mind. And oh, guys, hold on. My noodles are boiling over. I'll be right back.
That's good mindfulness spell.
I like the suspense, right? I like the suspense. It's like going from, you know, and then super mundane. Oh, my noodles. That's about as mundane as you can get.
What I got out of that is I think we have to be careful about like scripting our experience, right? And like thinking just because this happened this way in the past, then it's bound to happen in the same way in the future.
That's what I started with, right? That's what I said. Like, yeah, this has been some really nice practice this week, but I cannot depend or anticipate that's going to be the way it is every time. and just that's cool. Like that's really cool. Like let that anticipation go, let that expectation go, because once the expectation is there, man, it's hard to get to the other side at that point. So you gotta drop it.
For me, it almost reminded me of like no pain, no gain scenario, and you're grinding yourself until you're really tired, and then you say, I cannot do this anymore. And then you finally get the point of letting go, and he just lets go. And then he's back to normal and he's okay again. And then he grinds, and then let's go. Grinds, let go.
I hate it because I always get this thing where I know I've had those moments where I've became so miserable and so depressed and so anxious that there has just been that snap and I go from hell to heaven instantly. And then when I'm really miserable, I'm like, oh, maybe if I just make myself more miserable, I'll pull an Eckhart Tolle and I'll get happy that way. Because it can happen. You can go down so low that it goes full circle.
You kind of like pull back to give yourself a running start.
It's totally not a reliable.
I like your like Wile E. Coyote method.
Yeah, right.
You're like building a rocket of Dukkha and
yeah, and then something in you just snaps and you let go all at once. Yeah, it's just not reliable though. I feel like those moments are so rare and they're. I don't know. I wouldn't want to cultivate.
It's definitely not caused by you doing it on purpose. Like that.
Yeah.
Like,
you can't control that.
Did you save your noodles?
Save the noodles, boys.
Yes.
Inquiring minds want to know.
Last thing that wanted to say there was just. It's crazy, guys. Like it's not ever what you think it is. That's what I'm starting to see. It's not like the thing that the amount of effort or like what am I trying to say? It's like after having that experience of the house of cards falling down, the go-to thought is kind of like, oh man, I'm going to have to build all this up again. Like there's some kind of imaginary journey from here to there. And it's like, and what I'm starting to see is like, that is it. It's imaginary. That it's really not ever what we think it is. It really is like, whoa, I should take a breath right now. Like I still have it. Like there's skill development here. Like I got this. Like we're learning this. We're learning to do this. And just like learning the alphabet, at some point you don't need to remember it anymore. You just can say A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And that's kind of what I feel like is starting to happen. And
I love that, man. I love that so much.
I just started really small with it. I was like, I'm just going to take a breath. I'm going to enjoy this breath. I'm going to notice on this unwholesome thought, throw it out. And then today, I just noticed that I'm able to actually like put so much less attention on the unwholesome altogether and just see it as noise and then just be with each moment of the inhale and the exhale. And it is truly incredible how much nothing is going on and there's no problems, no worries, no concerns when you're just in the breath like that.
So Joe, you asked me before what was it like on those retreats? I got one phrase for you. Never mind, start again. Never mind, start again. Over and over we hear that phrase coming from Dhammarato's mouth through the meditation, before the meditation, after the meditation. So Alex pretty much just said that in a lengthier way, but yeah, never mind, start again.
Yeah, Alex, I just want to say congratulations. Oh, go ahead, Joe.
I was just going to say the mental fabrication of identifying with my practice, scripting it, like
yeah, narrating it kind of.
Yeah.
Like it's a movie.
I do that so much. Oh my god! Thank you guys for pointing that out. I was going to say congrats to Alex for noticing that journey was illusory, from here to there. Those couple hours of when you're really struggling to gladden the mind before you get into like a nice flow. Dude, congratulations. And that's huge because that journey for me, I'm always thinking about it, and I never treat it as an illusion. I'm always treating it like that's real, like that's a real thing. Yeah, man.
You gotta be careful with those always and never.
Yes.
Those are words that you gotta like really watch.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah, man.
Yeah. Notice your permanence. Notice the permanence that you put on things.
Oh wow, that's brilliant. That's
New
brilliant. I
opportunity,
always
like,
do that
now,
too.
and it doesn't matter. Like, it literally doesn't matter what happens.
Mike Tyson is always on.
Because it's just our own illusion that there is momentum. There is no momentum. It just is, like, right now, or it's not. Like, they're either there's unwholesome, you know?
Yeah.
But we like to script it and be like, ooh, I got a good practice going. It's really just going well. I'm just smoothly doing this, you know? And then when a road bump comes, we're like shocked because we're like, oh shit, like, but this wasn't supposed to happen. This wasn't how I planned it out. Then we're really stuck in that, and then we can't remember.
To never mind start again.
Yeah.
I love that you said that, Joe, because what that reminds me of is, like, we think we get this, like, momentum, like you said, and I think the reason why there's clinging to the momentum is because there's a fear that I won't know how to go back into that momentum or that wholesome state if I didn't identify with it. Like, oh man, I've got something good going here. You know what I mean? So it's like, oh, I need to, this light right here, I gotta see this. This has gotta, I gotta know what it looks like and how it operates and functions and everything in order to, so that I can get the light back.
Angle. Yeah.
The thing is we don't need that after a while. After a while, you just see, like, no, I got this. This right here.
Yeah, you know what the light looks like.
Yeah.
It's the opposite of this. It's the opposite of suffering. Yeah.
Exactly.
That's brilliant, dude. I do that all the time. And even when I'm trying not to. And it's funny because when you're not attached to the positive state, it gets more pleasant. But I still get attached to it.
In the past, you've done that. In the past, you've done that.
In the past, I've done that. And
You
my
don't do
past
that
does
all
not
the
have
time.
to be my future.
Right.
Thank you. Thank you for pointing out.
You don't do that all the time. Past, you've done that.
Well, and that's just an idea that you have in your head. That we all do it. We all script our practice, and we like,
we don't all
like,
do it.
we describe.
We have all done it at some point in the past.
Yeah.
There we go.
But we tend, but it tends to be a
past.
repeating thing that, like, we describe our meditation practice, and we're like, all right, it's like this, but it's a very selective memory that is like formulated and conditioned in the present, right? And it sort of narrows down, like Rick said about his experience on this retreat. You know, he's like trying very much to script it down for us, but it's so hard to, like, to really say what it's actually like, because you're not actually there anymore. You know, that's just the actual reality that we're dealing with right now.
And even now, these are all memories too, which are fallible, you know. And I'm using my experience to try and interpret them too. So, you know, because the best I can conjure at this time that I was asked, you know.
Yeah.
So you guys are so funny. You're like my students. You're all taking the present and putting it back into the past. Perfect. I have done it. I do it. No, I have done it.
But it's good to remember, because it's good to remember it can change, right? Is that, like, we have the power to change it, you know? And I have to remind myself this all the time, because I script my own shit like everybody else. And
it is an excellent reminder, like, of something to just watch out for. Yeah.
Guys, the other thing I've noticed that I want to share with you is when I start to really enjoy the breath and being here right now and relaxing into that, there's more wholesome thoughts that come up. And some of the wholesome thoughts are like, if I see dukkha while really enjoying the breath, I won't have to really go far into like seeing the dukkha. It could just be noise, and then it could be like, oh, what a relief. I could just relax. Oh, I could just relax right now. And it's like in saying that, it sparks Sati. It's just, it's that feedback loop, that positive feedback loop that we're all exposing ourselves to over and over and over again.
I love the simple stuff as well. The really simple, reliable reframes you can do every time. That perfect one is, aha, I just noticed it. That means I'm mindful. Mindfulness leads to enlightenment. Therefore, I get to feel good for being mindful. Whatever gets you there. And it's like, I'm already aware of it. I'm already meditating.
I don't think it's wholesome to say mindfulness leads to enlightenment. I don't know.
Yeah, that's my like achievement obsession
but,
coming through in my reframes.
It's just like achievement oriented.
That's a really good point. Good point, man. Good point. I didn't actually
mindfulness
catch that.
it only leads to mindfulness.
Yeah. I was gonna say, Robert, that's
mindfulness is inherently a good quality, right? It's like, oh, I'm more aware, or I'm aware of it. There we go, feel good. Just like anything reliable that you can use every time, even in the hard situations, to just get that little glimmer of light going, that first spark, that kindling.
I think you just turn awareness into that feeling. You don't necessarily remind yourself, I'm feeling great, but you just turn your awareness into the feeling how you're feeling, and that self knows itself. It makes like a little note in your awareness. Oh, this is me feeling good, and this is me being in the moment as it is right now, and you keep noting it like that. It's not like reminding yourself in some kind of story you're creating in yourself. Oh, this is this is that, this is my story, this is the way I'm gonna achieve my goal. But it's more like a noting thing, at least how I noticed it from my personal experience. I don't know if that can relate.
Cool. Do you I noticed you said like you turn the awareness into like the happiness. Is that sort of like you're not like happy because you're aware, because of the reason being you're aware, now you get to feel
happy? What's that, guys? Got to take a work call.
No worries.
It almost feels like what Alex was describing previously. He's saying once he turns his positive thoughts, or he turns his positive thinking, essentially dukkha comes, and it comes knocking even harder because you're trying to turn away from it. So what I usually do is I just turn awareness onto it. I turn awareness onto who is trying to invite that, who's that person trying to create that, not so much on the dukkha itself. It doesn't really change anything for me by just switching my thoughts to positive thoughts. It switches automatically once I turn that awareness onto it. Positive thoughts just come naturally by themselves if I manage to switch my awareness into itself. Because in the moment there's nothing wrong anyway. So in a moment is the perfect anyway. You don't have to create a moment in your head and tell yourself, oh, this moment is really great right now. It is
for
great
XYZ
already.
reason. The moment's already good by itself. That's even more direct, man. Are you like do you do self-enquiry? Or did you do a lot in the past?
To be honest, this is my first call. I actually seen most of you. I listened to Dhammarato talking. I watched some YouTube videos, and I just decided to give a call. But I've been just practicing meditation for a couple of years, and Dhammarato's way always it just clicked for me because that's what I've been doing. None of the other methods kind of made sense, but Dhammarato's way, I've been doing it automatically for like years and years. I just did not know how to put it into a concept like you did.
Yeah,
because that's why
how
he's
to
a master,
get it into
a
systematic thing you can utilize. Yeah.
I
think we're all doing it automatically. We're trying to feel good, like, and when we feel bad, we try to, at least if we've read a self-help book, we know about like reframing situations and stuff. Yeah. Dhammarato just explains it really, really well, and he makes it really straightforward and clear, and he cuts all the grandiose language out.
Yeah, I believe that
religious
that's
language and stuff
done really well. Yeah.
Where are you from, Carl?
That's cool, man.
I'm from London. I'm in UK right now. Okay. I'm walking in this kind of rainy weather because I cannot really call from home as I have my girlfriend over there and she's working, so I had to kind of leave the house to call you guys.
That's nice. It's nice to walk on a call, man. I like walking on calls. It's always fun.
Yeah, it's just like weird holding phone and just talking to yourself sometimes.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah. If you're like holding it up on a video call, but if it's on the audio, I normally have like headphones in, and it's kind of just chill. It helps get your brain moving as well, like just walking around, pacing.
All right, guys, I'm gonna get going. Love you all.
See you, Alex.
Yeah.
Peace out.
Thank you for
Alex.
sharing, Alex. See
Love
ya.
you a lot.
Yeah, thank you, Carl. Good to meet you.
See you,
Nice
Alex.
to meet you, Alex.
All right. Bye.
Wonderful to see you again.
That's
You're
cool,
not
man.
you're
When
not originally from London though, right, Carl? Are you from somewhere else?
No, I was born in Lithuania, but
Okay.
I've been living in London for past like 8 years.
I was
Carl,
just asking because Carl's it's a common name in Sweden, and I thought from your accent you could have been Swedish, but you're not.
Yeah. German or Swedish. And some people say I sound Canadian, even though I cannot really say it, but I don't say A.
Not from where I'm sitting.
Maybe like French Canadian? I don't know.
No, I don't think.
Yeah, it
No?
could be French.
No.
Yeah, it could be French Canadian. Yeah.
Yeah.
Carl, when you say you're turning awareness on itself and then the happiness comes naturally, is that the same as like the witness? There's a state in meditation in pragmatic Dharma that's like termed the witness, and it's like a special like state that people get into from doing self-enquiry, where awareness is sort of like glued to itself and only looking at itself, and then it's like this very peaceful state. Yeah. You're talking about that same state, right?
I call that state, for me, it becomes dreamless. It's not like a dream, but it becomes dreamless as nothing seems permanent and nothing seems real, but at the same time, everything is real at the same time.
Yes. I think Kenneth Folk calls it no dog after this phrase, you have no dog in this fight, because it just doesn't care about anything that's happening. It's completely self-satisfied. Yes, that's cool, man. That's cool. I've been trying to cultivate that in my self-inquiry. I have a really hard time with it, though, because my mind is so overactive. I'll have a thought and I'll go to who am I, but a second later there's already another thought distracting me. But I've really been enjoying it. I've been doing lots of self-inquiry for the past week, couple hours a day. It works well with Dhammarato's technique, I find, as well, because it's Dhammarato's technique. You can kind of you can use it as sort of a base.
You got to stop calling it Dhammarato's technique. It's not Dhammarato's technique. It's the Buddha's technique.
Thank you.
There are so many Buddhist teachers that always say it. It drives me nuts.
That's the brand. D.
DT.
You gotta get the t-shirt, start print the t-shirt.
Yeah, man. The Dhamma Dudes t-shirt line. Yeah.
It's in the suttas. Like it's just straight from the suttas, you know. Like,
I just gotta make sure
he doesn't have a copyright on following the breath and changing unwholesome thoughts to wholesome. Like,
yeah.
You know.
Circle C. Technique circle C.
Do any of you guys like self-inquiry?
I only use it when I feel there's seems like large emotional obstacle that's kind of like inhibiting the practice of staying in the moment. Then I'll use it, but I haven't needed it for quite some time. Like I haven't needed to remove anything with the like self-inquiry crowbar, you know. So I haven't needed it for, I don't know, like I said, a couple of years, but it's definitely a great tool. It's definitely a great tool.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a wonderful tool, but
I've been getting really into it. I listen to like Ramana Maharishi. I'm not sure how to pronounce his name. I've heard it different ways, but his like book on like how to do it. I listened to like an audiobook for free on YouTube that someone sent to me, and I was listening to that like twice while doing the practice, and I was just like listening there, like self-inquiring for like hours straight yesterday, just listening to that book. and it was awesome, man. It was awesome. I was trying to fall asleep originally, but I couldn't fall asleep, so I just kept practicing, and I'm loving it, man. I'm really liking self-inquiry. I really like those. I feel like with Anapanasati, one of the issues I get with it, and I said this to DJ and Joe yesterday on Discord, is that like sometimes like my mind will get a little bored of it. It'll want something less like concentration, shamatha. It'll want something more like actively engaging. And I like self-inquiry because it just adds this step of like I have something to do after, rather than just remove the wholesome thought, the unwholesome thought, and then keep thinking the wholesome thoughts. Like I have something else to do with myself where I can look for myself and look at who's observing. It just adds like an extra bit of interestingness, bit of spice to the meditation, keeps it a little more engaging for my overactive sort of ADD brain, if you will.
All right.
Yeah, man, that's why I like it.
Okay, that's cool. Whatever works for you.
Yeah, man. That's what it's about. It's like we kind of have to customize these practices to ourselves after a certain point.
Can I ask you something? Could you find yourself resting in those states with just being able to rest in them? I don't know what's the better word, but it's like just resting. Can you rest yourself? It's a tricky game of words sometimes.
I can, but it's not satisfying. It's not enough. I can hold the mind still, but it's not enough. It's normally, for me, it's normally a kind of dull trance. It's like I'm not really paying attention. I'm kind of just like, it's like I'm a bit of a brain dead zombie. I'm not in like a proper sort of a jhanic state or access concentration where I'm actually paying attention and I'm alert while I'm holding the mind still. I'm not alert. It's kind of, so normally I'm like constantly looking back, constantly looking back, because thoughts keep constantly coming up. So very rarely will I actually abide and be alert and happy all at once, and like have the jhana factors, as Dhammarato would say. Yeah, normally if I'm abiding in the I'm just focusing attention on it. It's a very dull, sort of brain foggy, trancey, zombie-like state. It's not really high quality practice as I've heard it described.
Have you tried to look where the thoughts come from and find the source of the thoughts? Because I find that helps for me is whenever I look into sources of things, if you can never find them, then essentially your mind settles ease at itself because it knows it cannot find the source of it, and then it just rests automatically by itself. Because if there's nothing to find, there is no source where it's coming from, and if there is no source where it's coming from, there's nothing, and there's everything at the same time.
That's brilliant, man. Thank you for sharing that. I'm going to use that today in my sit. Normally the way I did it, I said yes because I've tried it, but normally the way I do it would be to look for who's observing it. So look for an observer, witnesser, awarenessy thing. But actually look for like who's thinking the thought, and like kind of become conscious that it's happening on its own and stuff. Like that sounds like a really cool way to do it. I'm gonna try that.
Yeah. Even are you talking about where the sensation is of the thought? Where is the sensation of the thought? Where is the sensation of the witness? Where is the sensation of anything?
Yeah.
Where is it arising from?
Yeah, like how big is it as well? Like how big is the thought? Like in proportion to the rest of reality. I think that's a really good one. Yeah, man. Love it. What was I gonna ask? I can't remember what I was gonna ask. It was really important.
Was it?
No, not really. I'd have forgotten it.
I just like the idea of an awarenessy thing.
An awarenessy thing, right? It's like someone's gonna be observing this.
That's a fun little word there. Awarenessy thing.
Yeah, it's the awarenessy thing. The glue holding all this whole thing together.
I think boredom goes away after a while. Would be my only comment.
That's another one of the hindrances.
I haven't reached that point, man. I haven't reached the point where boredom goes away. It's a constant thing for me.
If you go on retreat or like set up your life a little bit,
go away.
Yeah, it goes away.
Block Instagram on my phone. That's what I need to do.
Just turn your phone off for a day. Or like
I was joking to Joe that the biggest hindrance to practice isn't like depression or anxiety. Like it's having a cell phone, man. Those things that distract.
Turn it off.
Yeah.
Take a weekend and just be like, hey, this weekend I'm just not gonna do anything, and then see what happens, because then you're just left, right. and you have the 2 days to get to Rick's point that he's talking about,
you're no longer waiting. You're no longer in anticipation. You're no longer you know the time, but you don't care what the time is, because it doesn't mean anything to you, because those numbers on the dial activate, okay, this is what will or should or did happen in the past around this time. But when there's nothing going on, then those numbers are meaningless. They really are. And that's a great place to be.
That sounds like an amazing feeling. I've been meaning to do for a long time, to reshape my life into a more retreat-esque, kind of more meditation conducive, more wholesome thought conducive thing. So I'm not constantly having to resist opening up Instagram when I'm supposed to be meditating.
You gotta do it at least for some period of time. You have to have seclusion to get over it. For me, I
because it's so addictive, right? You can't really control yourself.
And then you can get to a point where you enjoy the technology, because I love going on my computer now, and I love going on social media, because my family's on there, right? And you can come to that relationship with it, which is such a healthier way of being about things, right? Is when people are complaining about, oh, I don't like going on Instagram, I'm well, first, I don't have Instagram.
You're using it wrong. You're using it
wrong. Exactly. You're using it wrong. Yeah, because on my Facebook page, all I have are awesome pictures of my nieces and nephews, and I've unfollowed everybody else. So it's pretty great,
Right. I'm with you like that. There's no
it's use versus abuse, right?
Stuff. There's no, it's just nature pictures and really sweet videos or nice little Dharma quotes or something like that. And all of the junk that people complain about, I'm you really do have control of your feed. You guys know that, right? Everybody knows that. You can delete whatever or whomever you want and just put in wholesome stuff, and now it's a fun place to be, within limits, and not this and no need for
you're not using it all day, so it's
right. And me, I've got
doom scrolling. That's it, man.
That's what it's called, right? Doom scrolling.
Yeah.
And I have my personal limit. I set it at maybe 20 or 30 minutes per day, and then it locks me out. So but that's even healthy. What I see of it is still positive. It's not. And if something happens to worm its way in that looks political or negative, it's gone. It's gone.
Yeah, man. Politics depresses me so much. Oh my god.
So don't read it.
Clicking.
Exactly. Don't read it. You
don't read it.
Yeah.
I mean, what's really refreshing is when I talk to people about the news and I have no fucking idea what's going on. Because they get to tell me their impression, and everybody reads the same stuff anyways, so they get to fill me in on whatever is decided to be that's really important. Because you don't actually need to know the news. It's not a necessary thing to function in the world. If you want to do it, it's fine. If you enjoy it, because sometimes I enjoy just reading about certain stuff, but there's also been periods in my life where I have no fucking clue what's going on at all, and it's really refreshing. It really is a reset for yourself to just not know. Highly recommended.
Okay, Robert, I've got one for you. I've done this. I do this on occasion, maybe once a week. I will look at the news, but I'll watch myself react to certain stories and notice that. I will do that, but as a method of inquiry, not necessarily as a way of informing myself. It has a double meaning. I'm informing myself, but at the same time, I'm also watching myself react to certain stories in certain ways. Yeah. So that can be, for me, an interesting practice like that.
Yeah, I do the exact same thing.
That's a cool way to relate to this media consumption stuff. It's notice how you're reacting to it instead of being the reaction. Now
notice how you're reacting.
Now it's a meditation.
But then I put it down. It's okay, well, that's all I need for the week. That's all I need for the week, or maybe every couple of days, because I do like to stay informed to bring up conversation topics for my students in Korea. So I'll check out what's going on in the Korea Times or whatever. But yeah, that's really helpful for me. I have a different relationship.
You're choosing to do it. It's
Yeah,
a difference.
right. And I have a different relationship with the news of desperate to know why I should be worried or who I should criticize versus, oh, okay, this is what's going on in the world. Okay, look at my reaction to this environmental news. Look at my reaction to this political news. Okay, let's look at that for a moment, but not get pulled in too much of like, oh, okay, now I have to know, kind of like an episode. Oh, what's going to happen next? What's going to happen next? You know, that thing going on in Ottawa with the truckers is a really good example of that. I mean, that is in my city, but is it directly affecting me? No, I live on the west side, you know? so then let's take a look and see, okay, so here's what's happening today. All right, here's what the truckers are doing. Here's the problems they're causing. Here's how people are reacting. But looking at it sort of objectively, in a detached kind of a way, not of like, oh, I can't believe those truckers, or oh, I can't believe the, blah blah blah. And no, it's just like, and so it's,
you just listed like the instructions for Sati. It's neutral, non-judgmental,
right,
curious, compassionate awareness.
Mm-hmm. And if I start to feel pulled to that, I'm like, I watch that, I look at that, I see that, I go, okay, look at me being pulled in. Interesting. That's one of your buttons, isn't it? Okay, good to know.
That's one of your buttons, isn't it? Yeah. Instead of being the person getting the button pushed, it's like, oh, that's one of your buttons. Huh, cool. I've got some space around this. I've got some power over this. I love that, dude. That's how I'm going to engage with social media. I mean, I'm still going to block it, but
but you have just like gaining the power.
When I find some way to get around my block, I'll engage that way.
Feeling that you have the power, though, right? Like that's the key, is like, because like none of this stuff is like, it's not bad. It's just how we're relating to it that becomes
right. It's how we frame it, and usually how we frame it is cultural, social, part of our grand narrative or whatever. But it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think it's fun too. I mean, I've been reading about the trucker thing too. I think it's kind of funny, like it's a funny way of protesting, and like but the part of me that's like having a strong opinion about it, or like wanting to influence other people, like that it's not really there anymore, just from years and years of like consciously not doing that, But if you keep going on the path that, like, it sounds like you're at with social media, it's just reinforcing these habits, right? And so you can choose a different way of relating to it. And I think it's helpful to have a little bit of a period of seclusion from it, but then not make that a huge thing. Like not make it like this new sort of rule, but at least to the point where like, all right, now I can reset and then come back. Because then it's awesome, because then you're like, you can see it for what it is and you can enjoy it and like participate as much as you want, and sometimes you get lost. I mean, with the COVID stuff for a while, I was like probably reading too much stuff, but the reminder is still there, like that the wheels already been set in motion.
Right. And if you do get lost, never mind, start again.
Exactly. Yeah.
Don't get upset that you did, because again, it's about that overcoming that conditioning, which is not an easy thing to do, but just you'll recognize it eventually, and you'll pull yourself back out to what I'm going to call a safe Goldilocks distance of, okay, I can engage in it but not get pulled in. It's like knowing how close to the whirlpool
I like it, but I don't want it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, right.
That's it, man. That's it.
So yeah, when
that
you're
Goldilocks zone,
yeah, when you're talking about the news, I'm like, I do sort of an inquiry thing, but it's maybe not exactly what you were just describing, but I do it in a certain particular way, like that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You can like investigate like perceptions and all that. Like, is this causing me to be perhaps a little biased towards a certain group of people or what have you, or is this thing like coming up? So it can be a real like what emotions, or even is this bringing out anything in me, and what have you. So there can be a lot to investigate there, and if you're like at a safe distance, right? Not getting caught up in it.
I got to tell you guys something really kind of interesting.
Go ahead.
It was up until about 2 years ago, I was someone who was quite irritated at, people that are like Trump voters, Trump supporters, that whole, I was really pulled into that whole thing. And then it hit me, like, what if I don't see them as, like Americans that have got these bad programming? What if I look at them as just people from a different culture, right? Like, I don't place judgment on, let's say, people in Ecuador for their particular, like, cultural and social norms and values or behaviors. I don't do that to people in, Sri Lanka. If I look at this group of people as just a different culture with different values, then suddenly I don't feel like this should and shouldn't and expectations anymore at all. I'm like, it's like they're just from a different planet. They're just a different culture. And, based on like cultural relativity, I really don't feel that it's, correct to put my judgment on them. Yeah. So I played a little reframe with myself, and after that, it was like, I would say like,
and you see,
Oh, dude,
and
that's
you
brilliant.
see like
that's
how
so
much
good.
you're hurting yourself by the hatred, because like
I totally have
a
double standard like that for like people who are like bigots in the UK versus like bigots from cultures miles away. Right? I don't even, they don't bother me if they're
why would you
exactly. But why does it bother me when it's here? It's like,
exactly. So just because they're close to you and they look more like you, then you put the higher standard on them and you have a higher expectation.
And that's really what it is.
I dropped all of that. I dropped all of that and said, no, they're just a different culture. It's fine. I'm not gonna rag on their culture, as long as
when you stop like having this strong identification of American, like that's the self-identity. It doesn't not there's anything wrong with it, but just for me, it's been helpful to just be like, I'm not American. Like, each person I meet is just a new individual, like whatever their background or anything, and it really is refreshing to like, I spent like most of my life hating Americans and hating America, and it just is like, who was I hurting? Like, myself only. That's the only actual effect of that is just causing myself pain and suffering, and also meeting Americans and not seeing them for what they are. Because like, when you're abroad, you meet Americans and you're like, oh wow, like they're actually not like that bad, or like I talk on Skype calls to Americans and like, you're like, wait a minute, like I have this big image that like, oh my God, Canadians are so much nicer than Americans. Fuck Americans. Canadians are awesome. And then I'm like, that's not reality. Like, each individual person is their own thing.
Is that really true? Is that really true? I mean, you can't, it's not apples and oranges. It's humans, right?
Well, yeah, no. But I mean, then too, like, there's the thing, right, where it's like, okay, well, some truckers, believe this, but not all truckers. And so, like, moving on, like, are you going to have a perception of, like, every single time you see a trucker, then you're associating it with a certain, political view, which is not necessarily always the case, right? Like, that
every time you see a red hat.
Yeah, exactly. It's a top thing. And then there's this, like, anger or whatever has arisen. So it's just like, looking at some of these objects, it's interesting. So I think, you can engage in a wholesome way, but it's just like continuing to guard the mind and continuing to practice when you remember to, right? So, yeah,
because viewing the internet in a positive way has really made a big impact on my life, of being like, wow, the only reason I can communicate with you guys and the only reason I have like such a like Dharma practice really is because of the internet. Like, how incredible is that? Like, it's way more important than anything else,
Absolutely.
And in my little
for all the
corner,
people who've like, gotten sucked down the doom scrolling rabbit hole, or like triggered by like political posts on Facebook, like, how many people have discovered the Dhamma?
But they're using it mindlessly instead of using it mindfully. And that's really what it comes down to, is using it mindfully. You know?
And having these tricks, like for a while I had a mindfulness bell that went off every 15 minutes on my computer. I don't have it anymore because I just don't need it really. But that was really helpful, having that for a while. And it would freeze my screen for like 5 seconds, and I would have to, like, you know, because I had that 5 seconds. So some program like that can be helpful. I can't remember what it's
cool.
called.
I like that. I like that idea a lot. If you remember, please send it to me.
I think it's called like mindfulness.
I think it's called a virus. Send me that virus. I'd like my screen to freeze every 15 minutes.
I want to construct the wholesome computer virus.
The Dharma worm.
My mom has that program, and like she lives with my like nephews, and like my nephews all like freeze and like take like a deep breath, she says, when it goes off. So it's become like a family thing.
That's adorable.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Love it.
Well, gents, I have to sign off. I've got to get ready myself for another shift, but it was excellent to chit-chat with you all.
Excellent. Well,
yeah, nice
I'll
to see you
be
again.
rewatching this one and taking notes to some of your points, because you told me some very, very nail-on-the-head comments. Yeah, that's a sentence.
Awesome. All right, guys, until later. Bye.
Ciao,
See you.
Rick.
Take it easy.
Bye-bye. All right, we might be a good time to stop the recording, going for an hour and 45.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. What do you think?
Yeah.
Cool.
Good.
Cool. Call it an episode. Wholesome ways to use media episode. Yeah, I just named it. I think that's Parker's job, or maybe Dhammarato.